Hello guys, so we are now in El Salvador at PlanB conference, and here with you Anna Tutova, co-founder of Coins-Telegram, and we have on our channel again Samson Mow, who is co-founder and CEO of JAN3 and as well founder of Wakwa wallet, Bitcoin wallet and super app for Latin America, and as well he is one of the key people who brought adoption of Bitcoin to El Salvador, and as well he wears quite a lot of hats and as well developing his own games. And runs a company Pixelmatic and Infinite Fleet. So great to have you again here, Samson.
Thanks, Anna. It's great to be on your show again.
So your company, JAN3, focuses on hyperbitcoinization of the nations. So can you tell about the progress you see currently? I know you as well visited a couple of countries like Suriname, Costa Rica, Montenegro. You spoke as well in Germany at Bundestag that they should adopt Bitcoin for their reserves. So can you tell more, like your observations? What do you currently see?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more interest. We also talk to central banks. And actually, we have outreach from the central banks to come talk to us too. So I think there's a shift in interest now, especially with the Trump admin coming into power, that Bitcoin is okay, and everyone's very curious now to learn more. So it's much easier for us as JAN3 to engage and talk about Bitcoin because there is demand for engaging on Bitcoin. But we're seeing a lot of interest too from countries to create special economic zones, and Thailand is one of those. They've talked about it publicly already. So I think the dominoes are starting to fall very rapidly in terms of nation-state adoption.
So do you currently help Thailand as well?
We're working on it.
Can you share as well countries with which you're currently working with, consulting with, if it's not under NDA?
There's a lot. But there's a fair number. I can't tell you exactly, but there's a lot.
Are these more like developing countries, so like island countries, or do you work as well with any countries in Europe?
Europe is trickier. As you mentioned, we did present at the Bundestag and talk about Bitcoin. And there are some areas around Serbia. Prince Philip from our team is working on those. But Europe as a whole is a bit tricky. They're not really into sound money or into Bitcoin. They're just more into regulating everything.
Yeah, but now we see actually Czech Republic, they have proposal to buy Bitcoin.
That was a big surprise, but it's inevitable because all of these countries, all of the central banks, and especially pension funds, they all need Bitcoin. And it's just a matter of time, really. I mean, the UK right now is going back into crisis mode. So a few years back, the pound dropped to almost the same level as the dollar, and the gilts there were in crisis, and now they're once again getting back into crisis territory. So I think we'll see more urgent adoption of Bitcoin and very quick movements, like from this Czech central bank. I mean, they're putting it to a vote. It's not we're exploring it, we're researching it, but we're putting it to a vote. So I think things will move very quickly this year in 2025.
What do you think about the new elected President Trump and his pro-crypto stance, and as well that he is proposing to put a Bitcoin or digital assets reserve? Do you think it's going to happen?
I think it's going to happen because it's necessity again. The US debt is spiraling out of control, debt GDP ratio is unhealthy, and they really have no choice but to adopt Bitcoin and to create a Bitcoin reserve. Now there is discussion on will this reserve be Bitcoin and crypto and other things, or just Bitcoin? And I think ultimately it'll just end up as Bitcoin only. There are a lot of crypto companies like Ripple lobbying for inclusion, but I just don't see any reason to include Ripple in the reserve. Like, it is a US company, or actually they're not even a US company. But anyways, no country would want to use Ripple in the event of some geopolitical turmoil. But you can still use Bitcoin to trade because Bitcoin is permissionless and decentralized and immutable. Everything else is centralized and mutable.
And if we see the Bitcoin reserve in the US, do you think we'll have like a network effect and other countries quickly adopting it?
Definitely. So a lot of the countries that we do talk to politicians in, they're all saying, we're very conservative and we're waiting to see. So when the US does make a move, I think they'll start to fall in line and just launch. And we saw the same thing with the ETFs. So The US launched the ETFs, then Hong Kong and Australia followed. They were just waiting for the...
But Canada already had these ETFs much before.
Yeah, but Canada doesn't count.
Yeah, and as well, you're based in Canada, so
Yeah.
what can you tell about the government there and their crypto stance?
It's very bad.
Did you try to get in conversation with the government officials
There's
there?
no hope to talk to the government currently. The only reasonable thing is to wait for a change. And hopefully Pierre Poilievre wins, and we have a prime minister that understands Bitcoin. But right now, there's not much hope for Canada. There's just a lot of societal problems, a lot of economic problems, and just a willful ignorance of those problems, which compounds them even further. So if you don't recognize there is a problem, you can't look for the solution. And the government is too corrupt right now to understand that they need Bitcoin.
And as well, you were just on the panel today with the mayor of Vancouver, where you're based, and they're as well doing some exploration of Bitcoin for the use in government services or donations.
Yeah.
So can you tell more about that? What do you see?
Yeah, so Mayor Ken Sim, he wants to add Bitcoin to Vancouver's reserves. And his motivation is that it will set the city up for prosperity for the next 100 years. And the challenge really is that he has to get the rest of the council on board, and they have to run through some process to explore and research. But I think the timeline, the challenge for them is the timeline. Will they be able to execute on a Bitcoin strategy within the next 6 months to a year? Because I see Bitcoin getting out of reach of most buyers in a year's time.
And as well, Bhutan is as well one of the top countries in terms of adoption of Bitcoin. They do Bitcoin mining, and they're one of the biggest state holders of Bitcoin currently. Do you work somehow with them, or what do you think
We have some contacts there, but we haven't actually engaged with them. But they're kind of well along the Bitcoin path, so it's not really urgent for us to talk to them. We can talk to them just as a point of interest, but they already have their Bitcoin strategy, so we're focused more on other countries to get them into Bitcoin.
And do you think we will see a big shift from Bitcoin volatility and more countries adopt Bitcoin for their reserve currency?
Yeah, I think we'll start to see less volatility when we cross 500,000 per coin. That's roughly half of gold's market cap. And at that point, I believe people will start to understand that there is no point to sell Bitcoin, because it went 5x from here. And the question is, why would you want the dollar anymore? Or why would you want the euro anymore? So at a certain point, people will just stop selling Bitcoin for fiat currencies that are massively devaluing against Bitcoin.
And as well, you made before a prediction that Bitcoin would hit $1 million by the end of this year.
Well, I thought we would hit it this year, 2024, but I missed the prediction. So I think 2025 is definitely a possibility.
So what are the fundamentals that Bitcoin will grow in the price so quickly to $1 million?
It's not that quick. It's 10x from here, and Bitcoin has done 17x in the past. And the higher we go, the easier it gets to go up, because there is this Veblen effect. You know, a Veblen good, it's like a luxury good. The more expensive it is, the more desirable it is. And Bitcoin is sort of a Veblen type good, where you don't want it when it's low, but when it's expensive, you want it. And when it crosses that gold threshold, it'll be, number 2 or 3 in total largest of the total assets in the world, largest assets in the world. And it's only gold that has to be toppled. So at that point, it's kind of established itself as a reserve asset, and people will just want to buy it no matter what. But we're already seeing a shift in the dynamic of Bitcoin buying. It is ETFs, passive income funds, and bondholders getting MicroStrategy exposure. So they don't really care about the price. They're just buying indiscriminately. So that kind of sets Bitcoin on a path to reach $1 million and beyond.
So ETFs is a good thing or bad thing, as for you?
I think it's a good thing. Not everyone will want to hold Bitcoin in their own wallet. They should, but not everyone will want to. And some people are maybe not qualified to. Maybe they're old and they need someone to help them take care of it. And I think ETFs are a viable mechanism for certain people. Or if you have a tax-advantaged savings account, then it makes sense to put that into an ETF. But the most important thing with the ETFs is I believe it's a portal to TradFi capital or fiat money. So a lot of the previous Bitcoin bull runs were muted because the exchanges are a bottleneck to move from fiat to Bitcoin. And the exchanges cannot KYC and onboard people fast enough. But with the ETFs, you open the doorway to trillions of dollars that can just magically flow in. So I think this time is going to be very different than previous bull runs.
Yeah. And as well, you were chief architect of El Salvadorian Bitcoin bonds, but that stopped. Are there any plans in line to revive that?
So all I can do is design it and show the way, and it's up to every country's governments and leaders to make that step forward. El Salvador has not announced that they're not doing the Bitcoin bonds, so I'm still hopeful that this year we will see them. And yesterday I was also on a panel with Nina from the AAB, and she kind of hinted that this year likely we'll see something.
Yeah, it will be great to see that. And as well, what developments do you see currently in El Salvador within already 3 years since the adoption of Bitcoin as a legal tender?
I think the adoption is pretty good, and we see like this PlanB forum is an example of that adoption and success. I think the conference maxed out at 2,500 ticket sales. So it's the largest Bitcoin conference in El Salvador to date so far. And I just see a lot of Bitcoiners interested in Bitcoin coming to El Salvador.
Yeah, and as well, what other Latin American countries do you see the most active in terms of crypto, Bitcoin adoption? Where do you see the biggest interest?
I think there's probably more interest in maybe Brazil, just overall, because more population. Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela. But a lot of it's because of necessity, because they have their own fiat currencies that are hyperinflating. So they're looking for Tether, stablecoin, optionality to hedge, or they're looking for Bitcoin.
And as well, how long will this bull market last, in your opinion?
Forever.
Well, like there are anyway cycles, ups and downs.
I don't believe in cycles.
Okay, that's interesting. And can you share as well some latest developments with your blockchain game with Infinite Fleet?
Yeah, so we're just continuing development. We still have about 15 people on the dev team, but we're working on getting the ships tokenized still, which is the bottleneck. So we are looking at some new technologies out there, and we're evaluating if we should migrate or stay on Liquid for the digital assets.
So do you think to migrate to other layer 2s?
We're looking at some other options right now.
And can you share as well some more of your upcoming plans for JAN3 and for Aqua Wallet?
Yeah, we just raised our seed round, so we raised $5 million so far.
And I see you bought some Bitcoin for your treasury too.
Yeah, we have some Bitcoin. We have 12 Bitcoin in our treasury. But right now it's just ramping up the dev team to increase integrations in Aqua. So more fiat on and off ramps in other countries. We have some on and off ramps in Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico coming.
So do you integrate other on and off ramps, or do you develop in your own?
Other on and off ramps. So other existing fiat on and off ramps.
Nice. Anything else you have to say? Any predictions?
Well, my biggest prediction is 1 million this year, so we'll see.
Okay, hopefully it will come true. Thank you for such exciting interview.
Thank you.